I have inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease is the name used for two different types of diseases called Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Both of these conditions affect people's digestive system. To treat inflammatory bowel disease, there are many different types of medications that can be used. The different medications are mainly so they have different strength and can target different things, whereas they can target the source of the inflammation or they can target the symptoms themselves. And so the two main approaches for treating inflammatory bowel disease are called step up or step therapy and top down. Step up is where doctors start patients on the weakest form of medication and then eventually work up to one that'll keep them in remission. Top down is the opposite, where doctors immediately start patients on a very strong drug. And top down can be more expensive because the more stronger drugs are more expensive, but step up is less expensive, but it often doesn't achieve the same results as fast. So the doctor takes all of these things into consideration as well as the severity of your disease when prescribing a treatment plan for you, but in many cases, what the doctor recommends is not what the patients end up doing because of their insurance. An insurance policy called Fail First is where the insurance company will refuse to cover a more expensive medication until a patient has tried and failed on the cheaper medications first, even if the doctor has prescribed the stronger medications. And patients can't really go against this because they cannot pay for these medications out of pocket because these medications can cost over $15,000 a dose, and they have to take these medications every couple of weeks. Because of this, patients are unable to achieve remission and can be missing work and school while they wait for their doctor to be able to proclaim them as failed on the less strong medications. And during this time, there can be damage incurred on their intestines while their intestines are constantly inflamed, so they're not achieving any relief, and it can cause irreversible damage in the intestines, which could eventually lead to surgery to remove the affected intestine or even the entire intestine. This is an issue everyone should be concerned about. Over 1.6 million Americans are affected by ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, and here on the UW campus, I know of 2 kids just in my dorm that also have these diseases. People can be diagnosed at every age, from infant to the elderly. If you don't know someone affected by these diseases now, you likely will at some point in your life. Here in Seattle, there's the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and they work to improve the quality of life of patients as well as raise money to fund research to find an eventual cure. Right here in Seattle, there's a Northwest chapter, and they work to help advocate for the thousands of patients right here in Seattle as well as the Pacific Northwest. They specifically have helped start legislation right here in Washington to regulate step therapy to make sure patients are not forced into making a decision that maybe isn't the best for them health-wise. Some states have already passed this legislation. Currently, it is on the floor in Washington State right now to be passed. And so it's really important that we are able to get the word out about this so that it can be passed. If this bill is passed, it would be really important for patients that are right here in Seattle, like the patients that go to Seattle Children's Hospital just down the road, and even those right here at UW Medical Center. For my project, I want to do an infographic that would explain what exactly step therapy is and why we should pass the bill. The foundation currently uses lots of infographics. They find that it's a really easy way to get information across very readily and visibly. They even have one for step therapy, but it's not really an infographic. It's a 2-page, really long and very text-heavy about it. And so I think making one that is less wordy and more social media friendly would be really important so that we can get the word out a lot easier. I think social media friendly is the key here to make it something that can be shared online. Facebook is one of the main ways the foundation communicates with their community, as well as the general public. So making an infographic that can be shared with a hashtag would be a really good step towards making it a more visible problem. Also, having a social media shareable post would really go a long way towards spreading the word and getting more support out for this bill. And eventually it could also be used in other states once the bill here in Washington is passed.